Beats by Dallas, make it hurt.
Okay, so Matt, we're going to be looking at the Titleist T-Series today. We've done videos like this before where we generally look at one type of iron, so we review the T150 or the T200. But I thought what we could do today is actually look at the full range of the T-Series. It's been out little under a year now, 2-year life cycle.
Yep.
So it's a good chance to kind of delve into how the product's performed in the fitting studio and where you see each head sit in the market. Obviously Titleist will tell you where they think it will sit, and you get like the T350 is the game improvement iron, but you've previously mentioned that players like Will Zalatoris are actually using that in the long irons.
Yeah.
So there's obviously an iron for everybody there. I'm going to hit some shots. So where do we start?
So I thought we'd start with the easiest one to hit while you're not as loose as potentially will be a little bit later on. So we'll start with the T350 in your spec of length and lie angle. So let's see what that can do.
Let's do it. So I've got the T350. Talk me through a little bit of the tech behind it. What kind of player, first of all, is this aimed at?
So for Titleist, this is aimed generally at the golfer at a higher end of handicap, stereotypically.
Yeah.
So slightly oversized head to aid with forgiveness, being able to move mass more towards the heel and the toe to help stability on off-centered hits, because again, stereotypically, a higher handicap golfer is going to hit more shots off-center. What it does is it just enables the club to keep the ball speed high, so that when you strike it heel or toe, the distance drop off from a good one isn't as detrimental as that golfer using something more like a bladed type iron.
Okay. Perfect. Well, let's hit some shots. So straight away looks a lot thicker on the top, but not typical to what I would say a game improvement iron is.
Yep.
I don't
classic
know if
kind of Titleist. It still looks good.
Yeah.
For a bigger head. And what they've done with this model compared to the previous generation T300 is it now features a forged face. So it's the first sort of more game improvement Titleist iron to have a forging process. So it still has a cast body, which enables them to move all the materials where they want to. That's one of the detriments of going forged. You can't be quite as particular with the internals. But with this, because it's a cast body with a forged face, they're able to have a bit of both. So,
and that's a key change from the 300.
Yeah, so should be able to get a bit more feedback of strike location because the face is softer compared to the previous model. Good shot.
So yeah, both of those felt hot really off the face.
Yep.
First one maybe a little bit pulley, but didn't feel like they were different in distance.
So how does that feel off the face to you?
Clicky.
Yep.
Very soft. Feels really like it's coming out hot. I don't know if the numbers suggest that, but very easy to hit. A little bit left and right, but that's me more than the club.
So ball speed, very high, 124 ball speed out of a 7 iron is particularly good. Typically, someone swinging at your speed, you'd be seeing about 120 for a good one, which is probably what we'll see more of when we move down the range through to the T100 area.
Yeah.
Launch angle healthy at 18 degrees, spinning actually really good for a more game improvement iron at 5,900 revs. Considering the loft on this traditionally is actually a bit closer to a 6 iron, it's kind of spinning where you'd expect a 6 iron to be. Yeah. And with the height that you're generating at just over 100 feet, you can afford to be slightly lower on the spin rate. So it's probably not a club that you would actually want to play at your ability, but if you wanted it in the top end, like we mentioned with Will Zalatoris using this product, I think in a 4 or 3 iron, it could be a long iron sort of replacement of give you something a little bit bigger, a little bit more forgiving, just when the shaft's getting longer, the loft's getting lower, It's just going to give a bit more forgiveness.
Okay, so ball speed did what Titleist suggests they would do.
Yep.
Come out hotter.
Yep.
What's the loft of?
29 degrees, so fairly strong.
Okay, and is that what you would typically see in a modern game improvement iron?
Yeah, typically between 28, I think 27.5 might be the strongest from one of the brands. Off the top of my head, down to about 30.
Yeah.
You can get some of the game improvement irons in a high loft or high launch product as well. So it's basically the same product, just with more loft.
Sure.
So if people are a bit wary or a bit skeptical about playing an iron that's game improvement but strong loft, if they are a low ball player, there are products out there that can help just give you a little bit more launch by having more traditional lofts.
Okay, cool. So we're going to go into the T200 now.
T200, yep.
In terms of, if we start with loft there, how does the loft differ in a 7 iron from a T350 to a 200?
So it's just 1 degree, so it's at 30. So we should see the ball speed drop ever so slightly, carry probably decrease slightly, because roughly for 1 degree you're looking 3 to 5 yards on a robot. Obviously we're not robots, so we'll see what happens with that. Main thing is going to be now the head shape and size. It's going to look very, very different from what you've just used there.
Perfect. But one of the beauties of Titleist with the range is that you can combo very easily. So 1 degree change, it's not going to be the worst move. Okay, perfect. Well, let's get into that. Okay, so straight away, looks a smaller profile.
Yep. Less offset, smaller heel to toe.
And in the type of player this is going to appeal to?
So Titleist refer to it as a player's distance iron.
Yeah.
So by that, what they mean is it suits someone that generally has probably been or is still a fairly skilled golfer, but potentially maybe due to age or of being young or old, they want a little bit more ball speed, but they don't want the head to be as large as a T350 or, again, even other products from other brands. So hence the catchphrase of it's a player's distance iron. Yeah,
and this one might appeal to me straight away. So having played a lot of golf in my earlier days and not getting so much time to play now, I like the look of a traditional player's iron, but looking for something with a bit of forgiveness.
Yep.
And I kind of want to keep that on the quiet, and this kind of does that in a stylish way.
And again, you come back to the combo nature of the product. So I actually use this in a 3 iron because I just want a little bit more help over my T100. Yeah, I got up to a 4 iron.
And that's popular, right? Jordan Spieth and a few of the guys.
A lot of the Titleist players will combo their sets, whether it be 1 iron, so like a 3 iron and then force a wedge, or half and half. But yeah, Spieth, Thomas, a lot of the guys will play combo sets. Okay,
and then technology-wise, hollow body, forged face.
Forged face again, tungsten in heel and toe, exactly the same as all of the models. But it actually only is in the 7 iron up, so to 3 or 4 iron depending on the model. Basically because the more loft you have with the 8 iron, the loft actually takes over the technology, so they don't put the tungsten weight in the more lofted clubs.
Okay, and when you hear this, so obviously everybody can see the posters and it will say hollow body, forged face. To your regular golfer that just likes hitting golf clubs but doesn't necessarily understand the tech that goes into it, what does that mean? What is the benefit there of that just all about creating speed, or is there more to it?
It's creating speed off center strikes, but also helping to stabilize the head. So as you strike a ball slightly out the toe, you get an element of deflection in the head. So the compression, that small split second, the face is going to open ever so slightly.
Yeah.
So if you've got a little bit more mass in the toe and the heel, it's just going to effectively stop it from twisting quite as much.
Okay. Interesting. Right, let's see if it performs. It's a bit heavy. So that one's a good one to kind of compare on the first one. So the first one felt good, both a little bit pulley. That felt a little bit heavy.
So the previous shot was 176 carry. The first shot was 178 carry.
So nothing in it.
Yeah, it did drop off a little bit in spin because of the strike, but it actually kept the carry distance very, very similar.
And that's it, yeah. That's something that on this channel we talk a lot about, that when we're looking at striking, it's should be based more on the 7 out of 10 strikes rather than the 10 out of 10s. And
yeah, a lot
that certainly wasn't even 7 out of 10, to be honest, so it's good to see it up there.
The difference between a tour player generally and an amateur golfer is they're very good at having their cover number, their carry number. So if they've got a bunker at the front at 176 and they know that they can hit that 7-iron 178 regardless of strike, they're going to hit 7-iron.
Yeah.
The problem with us amateurs is we're going to hit poorer strikes, try and play a product that we think we're good enough to use, but we're not.
Yeah.
And then you hit that shot and it goes 168 and you're in the bunker with no shot.
Right, one more.
Look good?
Yeah, that felt nice.
So comparing from T350, we lost 2 miles an hour of ball speed, which we suggested that you probably would just because of the profile and the little bit more loft on the head. It launched 0.5 degree higher. Spin was actually lower, but you did have that slightly heavy shot, which came in quite low at about 4,500 spin. So take that out, spin rate quite similar between the two. Carry distance was a yard less. We were a little bit left, so potentially just adding a little bit of distance because of that. But performance-wise, again, very good and typically what you'd expect compared to T350.
Okay, perfect. And it's worth noting it's the same shaft in all of these.
Yeah, we're going same shaft, length, lie.
Yeah, perfect.
Just the head.
Okay, so where are we going next?
So we'll have T150 next.
Okay, so this is the one that's created a lot of the buzz over the last 12 months or so. So the T150, this is the new edition. Previously it was T100 and T200, but then they had the S, the T100S that sat in between, and that was just a stronger loft.
Yeah, stronger lofted T100.
So is this replacing that, or is this a different model in its own entity?
A bit of both. It is effectively the direct replacement, so it's still 2 degrees stronger lofted than T100. It still has a lot of the same properties in terms of it's now a fully forged head, still with co-forging of tungsten in there for the forgiveness in the longer clubs. But with T100S, it was the same size, chassis, offset, bounce, all of it compared to T100. T150 now is actually slightly bigger, slight more offset than T100.
Yeah.
And it's actually the same shape and size as the last edition of AP2. And obviously the AP range was Titleist's bread and butter product line for 10 years.
Sure.
Most played iron on tour for, I believe it's like the last 5-6 years before T100 came out. So it's just taking a little bit of the heritage from the older product, putting it into the newest style of product, and kind of creating a happy medium between the two. So golfers that played AP2 in the past will probably really, really like this iron.
Yeah, so I played AP2 for a long time, and straight away when you say that, you can see the AP2 in this. And with that slight offset as well, it does fill you with confidence that yes, it's a player's profile, but it's not going to be impossible to hit.
Yeah.
So loft again in this, presumably getting weaker again.
32.
Okay, so I expect the ball speed to drop a little bit, as you said. Okay.
Spin and launch should go up.
Okay.
Which is generally what good golfers are always looking for.
Yeah.
In a fitting scenario, we want maximum spin to a degree, because on a golf course, you're only ever going to lose spin.
Sure.
So wet ball, muddy ball, iffy lie. Yeah. This is the most amount of spin you're ever going to get.
Okay.
Good strike.
Okay, so it's taken me to get to the T150 to actually find the middle of a face and hit it straight, as opposed to those little pulls.
Part of that could be the offset.
Yeah.
A smidge.
Okay. And maybe the fact I'm warming up a little bit now.
Yep.
Ooh, got overconfident.
So how does that feel off the face compared to the 2 previous models?
Well, that last shot was horrific, and I don't think I found the face, but the previous 2 to that felt really good. Yeah. Very confident, inspiring. To be honest, where the one that I've hit where I've thought, wow, is the 200.
Okay.
I really was hot out the face. I mean, I've liked them all so far. I think in terms of looks, so far this wins.
Okay.
In terms of immediate feel and response, the 200, even though it was a little bit pulley, it just felt really solid off the face.
Cool.
But yeah, I couldn't criticize any of them to the point where I said I wouldn't want to play that. No. Okay. Obviously, as you said, the 350 isn't really going to be the one that I go for. At the moment, I'm sitting T150, T200. Probably for the forgiveness level, might be worth looking at a combo.
Yeah, of course. Try one more with that for me.
Yep.
So we can get 3 similar golf shots.
So from the fitting studio this year, what have you seen with Titleist? What's been like? Obviously, it's a difficult one to say which one have you sold more of, because you might have had a lot of high handicappers come in and naturally go towards the 350. But has there been one that's kind of surprised people? Have you had people come in for the 100 and walk out with the 150 because it was easier? Or
to be honest, no. It's been very, very split across the whole range. Typically, Titleist have always been perceived as a brand that have catered very well for the better golfer. They had a tagline years ago that I think they regret a little bit, that put some of the higher handicapper golfers off. But now there is a product for pretty much everyone that plays golf. So we get people come in that are looking for game improvement irons that haven't even thought of Titleist. You put T350 in, like you saw, ball speed, forgiveness, size, just ticks all the boxes for that golfer, and they're very, very happy with it.
Sure.
You then also, as you say, you get people coming in maybe for a T150, but they hit it, maybe just struggling a little bit. T200 then works that a little bit easier and better for that golfer. And you actually also see it the other way around. People thinking that they need the forgiveness of a T200, but actually the forgiveness level in the 150, because of its design, they can actually play and they get a little bit more feedback from the forged face. They prefer the look and the feel. It's a slightly softer sound. So it's not been shoehorned into one area, and I think that shows you when a product line is very good.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear. Anybody that's thinking about getting a fit could just go solely with Titleist and know there's going to be a product for them.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
In terms of numbers there, so ball speed dropped off pretty much a mile an hour compared to T200. Launch angle's been 18 degrees of everything. So one of the things we see is, or hear is, well, there's 3 degrees of loft difference. How much is that going to affect the height? The engineering that goes into the product so clever that the launch angle hasn't really changed, and your peak height has been 106, 107 and 108. So even though there's 3 degrees loft difference between the 3 products we've hit, your peak height and launch hasn't changed a bit. Spin rate went up to just under 6,500. Your landing angle still very strong, and carry distance at 168, which was around 6 yards shorter than T200. Again, pretty much what we would expect. 1 degree of loft, 3 to 5 yards, and we're bang on with that.
Okay, encouraging. So last but not least, T100. Okay, so T100, a product that's kind of gone straight in tour level.
Yep.
Obviously, you've still got with Titleist the 620 CB
and MB,
which a lot of the guys are still playing. But T100, this has been quite popular.
It's actually the most played individual iron on tour.
Is it
on
really?
the PGA Tour, yeah, and has been since the T-Series came out. So obviously those guys making a living out of playing golf, putting their trust in this product. They obviously like what they see from visual point, numbers point, and the same with people that we see through the door that are good golfers. It just produces really, really consistent numbers that you're looking for.
So in terms of top edge here, top line, looks so much thinner than T150. Is there much in it, or is that just me?
I don't have the exact numbers. I know it's a few millimeters shorter heel to toe.
Yeah.
The top line is a bit thinner.
Okay. It's like pulley, but that's me, not the club. It feels good. There we go.
Nice. Lovely shot.
Yeah, that felt good. I would say I probably feel like I maybe got to work harder to get the result out of this.
Yep. So that shot there was your highest spin rate of the whole session.
Right.
So 6,700.
What you'd expect.
Yeah, the first two, as you say, were a little bit pulley. So the spin was a little bit lower, but on a straight shot, that was your highest spin reading, which for the most amount of loft, that's typically obviously what we would be expecting and hoping for. Again, comparing numbers, ball speed was the first time just below 120, so we were average of 117. Launch angle did pop up about a degree, we were 19.5. Spin rate was above 6,500 on the average, again, typically what you'd expect. Peak height was actually the lowest of all of them, so just where the speed dropped off, it's not had the velocity to keep it going up.
Sure.
So, but your landing angle still on 50 degrees, which is more than adequate for a good golfer. And the carry distance average at 161. So we started at 175 and we've finished at 161.
Okay.
So obviously quite a big difference between them. And then that's obviously depending on the golfer who's maybe looking for distance, you can really see, okay, this product's not going to work if you're looking for distance. But if you're looking for really good consistent spin numbers, great launch characteristics, then the product that we finished there with T100 is now obviously the front runner.
Okay, and that's interesting. So obviously off camera as well, you gave me a recommendation. T150 is probably going to be the winner. The T200 might just jump a little bit too far for what I want.
Yep.
Straight away we can rule out T350. Great product, felt fantastic. Looks a little bit too chunky ahead for me, but when you look against other brands, it's certainly
quite sleek.
Yeah, way more of a player's profile than what your typical game improvement iron is. The only concern I'd have personally with T100 is because I'm not playing an awful lot, fine with a 7 iron,
yeah.
But I can imagine the minute I go past 7 iron, I'm going to get nervous if I've got traps left and right or any danger, that I've got to find the middle of that under pressure. So as a preference, I think I'd be taking your recommendation and moving more towards the T150. I actually feel in terms of the contact, the T200 was, as I said earlier, the one that made me feel, wow.
Yep.
That felt really good off the face, and they've all felt great. So combo in T150 and 200, has that been done much? Would that be a recommendation?
Yeah, certainly so. If you're looking for a bit more forgiveness, top end of the bag, like you just said, potentially going up to maybe a 5 iron and then throwing a 4 iron or 3 iron, whatever you're looking for in your set composition. What we have here is actually demo clubs of the longer irons. So Titleist has sent us 4 and 5 irons in the various heads. So we can give you a 5 iron T150 and you can stand there and hit some shots and go, no, actually I'm really comfortable with that. I can happily play that, the performance is good. If you're a little bit suspect, we can give you the T200 5 iron for you to try, and then hopefully from there you start hitting some more consistent shots, you feel more comfortable, and then obviously that's found your point of where you need to combo.
Perfect. Okay, well there we go guys. So big thanks to Matt for taking me through the T-Series irons. Hopefully that gives you a clearer understanding into the 4 models, the technology behind them, and the type of player that it's going to be aimed at. Certainly worth trying them all. I think the beauty about this is not only do you have someone like Matt to give you the recommendations of what works well for you and really what they think you should go into, but I guess you can really kind of start to play with your own mind as well and be led by a fitter, but also take your preference into it. So where Matt said the T100 is probably the front runner, for me, just on confidence and what I want, I know that I could go into the T150 or the T200 and it's still going to work for me. So yeah, great. If you're looking to try these irons, please book yourself in with a free custom fit in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.